So speaking of kind of creating clients, Robert Kendall earlier called it blue ocean market. This isn't something that we've all had to be pioneers. We pioneered this because, and you have all done this. What was that like for you? What are your struggles and successes around creating a market? They're not small questions.
Yeah, I can jump in. I mean, I may have more to say because, right, it's not a small question. That's the tip of the iceberg. But the starting point for me was creating this training. I'm going to get a little emotional because the first time, I presented this training, and it was really just based on my experience working with clients, what in my gut was, I was passionate about what I knew from Cuddle Party, from consent communication. I guess it was based on my whole life experience, right? But I put it together in a very simple kind of a nuts and bolts way. And I held the first training. I think Keeley was there. It was in a friend's living room in Chicago. And I did so for quite a while after that, just by video like this with people around the country where we would do it. And finally, when it got online, starting to see how it spoke to so many people, to see people showing up from all over the world and from Australia and from Europe, and from, looking in the training going, this is amazing. This is, that was so much. What is it? It's like I put out a signal. It's like I put out a little signal. It's like a tuning fork. If you hit a tuning fork and it vibrates, and suddenly I realized that I hadn't been realized before that there were all these other tuning forks with the same vibration, like all over that started resonating with what I had put out. And so it was this kind of humbling and beautiful experience that there was already a market out there. I just had to have the courage to speak my truth and to share what I had to share. And so many people saying, this is amazing. I didn't know this was possible. And then in the sense of the village, other practitioners creating videos and getting the word out and people finding the training. So I guess that's basically the first thought. What it's been like to create a market has been this humbling realization that I'm not alone, and that there's so many other like-minded people out there. And thank you, Janet, for really developing the client base. I mean, a lot of people come to the training, they're like, am I a practitioner or am I a client? And I'm like, well, the first step to being a practitioner is to be a client, like walk in your client's shoes, receive this and see how it feels and have that compassion. And then if you're a practitioner, keep being a client. Go see somebody regularly for your self-care and do this. And, we have many clients who come to the training and said, I've gotten so much out of this, I want to pay it forward. Hello.
Yeah, Sam.
Okay, so from my point of view, when I started, there were literally 6 people in the world who I could find who did this work. And there was just like nothing, and there was no one, and I was just like, oh my God, how do I even start? And so I literally scoured the internet for massage waivers and things, because I didn't even know how to begin. And so there weren't resources, there weren't people for me to reach out to and be like, what are the things that you did? What can I gain from your insight? I had to come up with all of it from my own head and start from scratch. And I took 6 months to develop this waiver. I hired a lawyer. I got a legal opinion drafted to make sure I wasn't going to go to jail. It was really kind of scary. And, when I started, this was an extremely polarizing topic. And I've gotten death threats, and I've had, I had someone call my parents at 2 a.m. the night after I was on CNN and threatened to have kidnapped me, and they were asking for $25,000, and I turned my phone off at night, so my parents were freaking out all night. There's been a lot of really scary things. I've had, stalkers and people do, some frightening things because I put myself out there as this public figure for this industry that didn't really exist as a whole field yet. And so for me, it was really frightening. There's a ton of like internet trolls and people attacking me on every front constantly. And it was rough. I can't tell you how many times at the end of the day, I just cried my eyes out. I just couldn't handle it anymore. And it was really hard to make this happen. And it took more than I thought I had to give. And I almost gave up a million times. And there's just something in me that like knows that I had this to give. I did have that ability to make room for this and to get people to understand that platonic touch is different than sexual touch, and it doesn't have to overlap, you know? And I've worked really hard to create a safe foundation for everybody to do this work, and I'm really proud of everybody who's putting themselves out there and being willing to have those awkward conversations and deal with the taboos and the awkward looks and the like confused, you know, requests and all of those things. And so, you know, I'm one very small part of this, and it's all of you guys that make this a thing that matters.
Thank you,
Samantha, I'm so glad you didn't give up. I'm echoing what Karen and Susie and Mary are all saying in the chat box, and thank you. If it were me in your position, I don't know if I would have lasted through all that.
It sucked.
Yeah. What you did is incredible. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I honor your resilience, your determination and strength, and for paving the way for the rest of us. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can speak.
Janet and Fei, who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Yeah, Janet, go ahead.
So I've never told anyone this. The reason I created videos, right? How did that all begin? Was because I was getting tired answering the same questions over and over again. It's really simple. Like, you know what? I will answer question once, maybe twice, but after that I'm like, nope, won't do it again. I'm just gonna make a video because that way I can just send the person the link, right? Like, they can get to know me. There's so many ways you can just hit like all the boxes, right? Like get to know me and learn some great content. And so I just made these quick videos. I just made them on Facebook Live and then took the video and posted them on YouTube. And so for me, building a market was more of me just being really lazy. Like, and as much as it looks like I did a lot of work, it was actually me being lazy, not wanting to do all the one-on-one work. And then, okay, now that I've done the video, now do you have questions? And then let's go deeper. Like, let's really connect. Like, so that's how it all began. And yeah, voila.
Yeah. And it's, oh my gosh, how did that work? Right? It worked so well. All I'm saying is what our resilience when we're trying to be lazy can accomplish. It's so great.
Laziness is a door opener for ingenuity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it. Oh, the biggest thing for me around building the market was like the recognition of what work that would take. Because, you know, I've had in all the other work that I do, I've never had to fish for clients. They would always come to find me. And I never had to worry about marketing. I never had to worry about teaching people the value of what I do and what it is that I do. If you say you're a piano teacher, everybody knows the value of piano lessons. And once they know a piano teacher, they'll send other folks to you. And so when I got this job, I was like, oh, there was a moment of recognition. It was like, okay, this is work. This is going to take some educating. This is going to take a lot of me putting myself out there. And yeah, so it's taken, I think, a lot of patience is what it is. I wish that this were a market where we could just say, yeah, be a professional cuddler, that's great money, and it's, you know, really rewarding work. The truth is, when you're stepping it in this even now, you're still being a pioneer. Many of you are in areas where it is a lot newer of a market than even where I am. And so I feel like the biggest challenge is having the responsibility to teach my clients what I do, because they don't know. And in many ways, as an industry, we're still figuring out the scope of what we do. So that's number one. And number two, it's educating other people that this is out there. There are so many people who really need what we have to offer, and people are still getting surprised every day. that there's such a thing called professional cuddling. They were like, what? They're still doing that. So I think that was the big thing, is just realizing that there's still room for us to be misunderstood, and doing all the things that we can to show people what that is, and being patient when it's not ready for the plucking yet. It's not low-hanging fruit. But it's good work. Yeah.
Yeah, Madeline.
Yeah, I just want to comment quick on that is, you know, that cuddling, what? You know, it's a mixed blessing because we get so much press. Mm-hmm. And I want to give my Cuddlist co-founder some props here for, you know, Adam Lippin is amazing, and Samantha Hess too. I mean, you know, for really what it takes to jump on that, you know, press and to be there and to show up for those and to corral the resources to continually educate and take the opportunity to let our voices be heard, and of all the other practitioners, and to say this is what it is, and to put up with the snide comments and the poking fun and the ridiculing, but really maximizing that opportunity, because most new businesses would die for the kind of publicity that we get. And, you know, one of the beautiful things about Cuddlist is because we have representatives all over the country and in other countries, when we get press from London and people say, oh, we've got a Cuddlist we can refer you to, and, you know, so we do an interview. And so we give press opportunities to our practitioners as well.
I will say that's definitely a huge part of Cuddle Sanctuary's success, is that Jean has had this incredible, you know, online presence from the very beginning of our business at Cuddle Sanctuary. And we live in Los Angeles, which is sort of a center for so much media that's being created. And you're right, that was, I think that all of us can say that that's a part of why we are here, is because it's such a new thing, and we felt like capable of leaving the mark in this industry. It's a lot less rewarding to go into an industry that's already established. Here we get to kind of make it up as we go. Kind of fun.
I'm loving